on Game Plan.
In the I formation, he's going over the top, and that's going to be it. Touchdown.
The Saints have sprung to 2-1 thanks to the trio of Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas. Now they're in search of their third win as they travel to take on the G-Men.
At this point in the season for us, that was a big win. Once Monday rolled around, it was time to get back to work.
See how the black and gold match up with Eli, Odell, and company. Plus, how rapidly is Marcus Davenport developing? Which areas of the defense are actually playing at an elite level? And what can Alvin Kamara teach us about the world of fantasy football?
From Fox 8 Sports, this is Game Plan. Sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers. Home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
A winning record in September? It has not happened since 2013 until now. The Saints are 2-1 after a shootout with the Falcons. Now they're off to the Big Apple to hopefully make it 3 in a row. Welcome to Game Plan with Juan Kincaid. I'm Sean Fazan.
Doing big things in the Big Apple. Well, neighboring New Jersey, but kind of close enough, right? And this is one of those games the Saints should win. But beating the Giants on their home turf been a real challenge for Sean Payton teams. They've done it just once since 2006. But first things first, Drew Brees says getting ready for what comes next begins with getting their minds, bodies, and
souls
right again.
I think everybody woke up Monday and, you put in maybe a little extra time. There's a space on how your body's feeling, in regards to maintenance and that kind of thing. I see a lot of guys doing that. I think a lot of guys have developed pretty good habits in regards to getting their bodies back, and that's really what Monday and Tuesday is for, right? You watch the tape, you put that game to bed, make the adjustments or talk through the adjustments that need to be made, and then you're moving on to the next opponent, making sure that you're getting yourself ready to practice that week, have a great week of practice, great week of preparation.
The Giants are a team coming off a big win over Houston and have some big-time talent despite that 1-2 record.
Plus, the last time the Saints were at MetLife Stadium, it didn't work out too well for them. That's why the G-Men had the Saints full attention.
For a team struggling to guard explosive players, the Giants present a significant challenge Sunday. They have players that can take it to the house on any given snap. Let's begin with Odell Beckham Jr., who's coming off a 9-catch, 109-yard performance against the Texans last week.
He's got real good suddenness. He's very quick in space. He can separate. He transitions exceptionally well, catches the ball well. Both of these players are outstanding after the ball's in their hands. So they're very good run after the catch players.
But they don't just have OBJ. First-round pick Saquon Barkley can be lightning in a bottle, whether it's running or catching the ball. He's already 6th in the NFL in rushing yards and 9th in the NFL with 21 receptions.
He's got great balance. He's strong. You have to populate the ball. He's not one of those backs that easily goes down with just one player. He's got tremendous leverage, vision. He can run. He's fast. I mean, he's something else.
And at the skill position, they got some of the best players in the league. So you definitely got to take that into account. And if they start fast, it's going to be a long day for us. So we definitely got to contain those players and be the more physical team.
Eli Manning captains the offense. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 1 pick on the year. Defensively, they rank 13th in the league in points allowed and passing yards allowed. They also rank 15th against the run.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You can look at a team's tendencies and say that maybe they're, more weighted towards man or more weighted towards zone, and then you get out into the game and you have to see how they're going to play us, right? And so, these guys certainly are capable of playing a lot of man, capable of playing zone too. We're just going to have to wait and see. Be prepared for anything, and try to exploit the matchups when we get them.
And one area the Saints may be able to exploit is the Giants' offensive line. They've really struggled, Juan, to protect Eli Manning.
No doubt the Saints need their front four to help out their struggling secondary. Maybe this is the game that happens. Meanwhile, last Sunday, Drew Brees passed Brett Favre for the most completions in league history. This Sunday in New Jersey, another record could fall. Even more impressive. 418 more passing yards for Brees, and he'll leapfrog Favre and pass Peyton Manning for career passing yards. 71,523 is where Brees sits on the list right now, which is 316 yards behind Favre. The Giants are on notice that Brees is chasing history. They're just hoping to delay the inevitable.
He knows the game. He knows where his guys are going to be at. He knows his offense, and he knows where to throw the ball. I mean, I don't know a lot of quarterbacks throw the ball to where it should be at, not to their receiver. You feel me? Yeah, he's definitely that good. He's the icon of their organization, and honestly, he's doing a great job. He's been doing a great job over there. Looking forward to playing.
Collins said his defensive mates are feeling a bit of pressure as they get set to face Breeze, but he said that's normal when you're facing one of the game's all-time great quarterbacks.
You know, Juan, I would imagine that the Giants are well aware of the Saints' big three.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no doubt. Much of the talk in their locker room, in fact, today was about Alvin Kamara and how he always gets open. Collins said Kamara is one heck of a check-down option for Drew Brees. He's right. That big three, but Kamara, Thomas, Breeze, it's been fantastic. Special.
Been hard to stop, no doubt about that. Still to come on Game Plan. It's tape time, where we examine the impact of Saints' first-round pick, Marcus Davenport.
And we want you to use the Final Play app to make your voice heard on our app. Submit a question using the Final Word feature and tune in to see what our crew has to say about it.
Watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
He's the player the Saints felt was worthy of this year's and next year's first-round pick, and through 3 games, Marcus Davenport is steadily improving.
He certainly is, Juan. In his highest workload of his young career, Davenport had an overall solid outing against the Falcons, as I discovered in my film study.
Davenport played 34 defensive snaps on Sunday, the most he's played to date. From a pre-snap standpoint, Davenport played 16 on the right edge with his hand on the ground. He played 13 snaps standing up on the right edge and 5 either over the tackle or over the tight end with a stand-up linebacker next to him. Davenport was also featured in the Saints NASCAR package, consisting of him, Alex Okafor, Cam Jordan, and Sheldon Rankins, 4 different times. Overall, I counted 4 true impact plays. His first came in the first quarter, where he got his first sack. Standing up on the edge, Davenport twisted inside. Falcons center Alex Mack was not expecting him. Davenport overpowered him en route to the quarterback. His next one came once again in a stand-up position, where he overpowered number 70, pushed him straight back into Ryan. He didn't make the sack, but impacted the throw. Later in the third, with his hand on the ground, Davenport was able to power through Wes Switcher, which forced Tevin Coleman inside and also forced a holding call on Swisher. And in the fourth, lined up as the 5 technique over the tackle, Davenport gets deep penetration. He's almost 2 full yards in the backfield when Ryan hands the ball off. That disruption forced the play outside for a 1-yard loss.
Now, don't get it confused. Davenport was not perfect Sunday. He didn't always win his one-on-one matchup and struggled with cut blocks at times. Still, all in all, this was his best effort to date, and it was certainly good to see one.
And it seems like the Saints really want to just see steady progress with him. They're bringing him along slowly, so they just want to see the signs that their first-round pick wasn't wasted. I think they have been seeing that so far. All right, it seems like all season long we've been asking the defense to take something away from the opposing team's offense. And they have. They've taken away the run, and they've been the best in the league at doing so. Look at how much better the defense has been stopping the run this year compared to last. They're allowing just 3 yards per carry this season. That's tops in the NFL, compared to the 4.5 yards per carry they allowed last year, which put them near the bottom of the league. This Sunday, the Saints will get a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley, and Deuce McAllister just wants the Saints front 4 to keep doing what they've been doing.
I thought that this defensive line really beat up the Atlanta offensive line, and whether it was allowing those linebackers to shoot the gaps or just being able to hold the edge, they did an outstanding job of holding the edge and setting the edge. You know, that's Cam Jordan, that's Okafor, that's Davenport being able to set the edge. I thought they really did a good job of that, and that really set the stage as far as you have to pass. I'm not saying that we did a great job when they did pass, but at least they forced them to have to pass the football.
You could hear it in the players' voices today. There's a pride in how they're playing along that front 4 right now. It needs to continue against Saquon Barkley in that offense this weekend, because the Giants are going to put a heavy dose of run game against the Saints defense.
Just got to figure out that pass defense, and maybe they might have something. Still to come on Game Plan, How are the Saints sure up their struggling secondary? Josh Katzenstein of NOLA.com. The Times-Picayune joins us in studio next to share his thoughts.
Beat. You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
I'm very concerned, because you are giving up explosive plays. That's what they have to take away from offenses. Offenses cannot know that they can continue to hit you with explosive plays. We hear the communication may be an issue on the back end. I'm not so sure that is the case. I know that you have to stop those explosive plays, though.
Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister will be with us Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to preview the game, and Sunday night at 10:30 to wrap it all up. Come Monday, you can catch Deuce at 8 a.m., 5 p.m., and 10:35. All of that right here on Fox 8. Joined now by Josh Katzenstein from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. The Saints' most pressing need right now seems to be the same as it was last week at cornerback. What can they realistically do with this group right now to make it better?
There's not much. They brought in a few guys for workouts on Tuesday and Wednesday. Even if they sign a guy off the street, though, that guy's not going to be able to help against the Giants this week. So really, what they have to do is hope that Ken Crawley and P.J. Williams start to play better, because with Patrick Robinson out for the season now, initially we didn't think the injury was as bad as it was, but he's supposed to be out for the season. So P.J. Williams is going to play a lot now, and obviously the way he played against the Falcons is not, going to work for this defense. So they just need those guys to play better. They need the safeties to play better, maybe get, more 3 safety sets. And then the pass rush needs to get better to make sure that, they can't have guys running deep and giving quarterbacks all that time.
Yeah, they need the pass rush. There's no doubt about that. But to me, Ken Crawley is the key. He's the guy that is shown on tape. He has been in the past up to the task. He's lost it this year for whatever reason. Hopefully he can regain that confidence, knowing that there is a real pressing sense of urgency here. We need you to play better. I thought last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he was a decent, competent number 2 cornerback. He wasn't great, but I thought he was a nice, competent kind of counterpart to Marshawn Lattimore. I'd be curious to see, like you said, Josh, do they go 3 safeties? But if they go 3 safety, there's no Kenny Vaccaro anymore that can run with a slot receiver or a tight end. So curious to see how this all kind of meshes, because they got to play better.
One of the things that helped the Saints against Atlanta, they were able to make Atlanta one-dimensional. Granted, Atlanta was having a fun time throwing the ball, but they still only gained about 40 yards running the ball. Against the Giants, the emphasis is there once again. But they have a front 4 that's played very well against the run. What's been the change from last year being 27th in the league stopping the run, yards per carry, to being first right now, giving up 3 yards per carry?
Well, I think part of it is that they haven't played that many good running backs. You look, the Falcons didn't have Devontae Freeman, and Tevin Coleman's a good player, but he's much more of like a scat back, guy who has success on, as a receiver. And then I think the Browns just have, a group of guys that have had, decent success at times, but never consistently. And then I don't think many people, give Peyton Barber, that much love, because he's never really proven it. So I think that's part of it. And I think, the linebacker play the last 2 weeks has been much better. A.J. Klein has been really good after a really poor first week. And so I think, this is obviously going to be a much bigger challenge against the Giants, except their offensive line isn't that good, so the Saints have a chance.
Yeah, not sure what to make of the Saints run defense yet. Statistically, they've played better. But when you're 30th against the pass, and you've allowed 78 points in 2 NFC South games, it's hard for me to really kind of throw a parade or throw a party for the Saints run defense. They have improved, and I really think it's the linebackers. They're reading plays better, shooting gaps better. D-line has certainly played better. So while that's certainly encouraging, if they're still giving up that many points, I can't say that there's a great improvement overall in this defense.
They're giving up a lot of points, but they've had to score a lot of fun. So these shootouts are a lot of fun to watch, but is this kind of offensive approach, this style of winning, sustainable?
No, they won one and lost one. I think it's going to be that way the rest of the year if they get in shootouts. They lost to Tampa, they beat Atlanta, and if they keep having to score 40 points a game to win, it's not a recipe for consistent winning. So I just think shootouts are fun to watch, but let's keep it to a minimum.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing the Saints really have going for them right now, and I don't know that a lot of people, made this point just because P.J. Williams and Ken Crawley were so bad in the game. I think the Saints won every matchup in that Falcons game except their cornerbacks against the Falcons receivers. I mean, they shut down the run. They ran the ball better. I mean, Mike Thomas was a beast. Their complementary weapons were really good. They won the trenches both sides. And I just think that if all of a sudden you can get those corners playing better besides Lattimore, you know, this defense could start to be better, and then maybe we won't see these type of shootouts.
Will this be the last week we see Alvin Kamara being used at such a high rate with Mark Ingram coming back in week 5?
I think it has to be. I mean, he was limited in practice on Wednesday with a knee injury, and I think, you know, the Saints brought in Brandon Tate because they don't want to put Kamara back there on punt returns ever again. So I think, you know, when Mark Ingram gets back, I think you might see those first couple weeks. I mean, you got to use Kamara because he's so good. But I mean, at some point, you got to give him a little bit of a reprieve.
Look, did you see him after the game? Because I saw him after the game. He looked completely gassed, completely exhausted, no energy left, nothing left in the tank whatsoever. 34 touches is a lot. What do you have? 15 catches. I mean, he really played a lot. Now, I'm curious to see how they handle it this week because once Mark Ingram comes back, I think everything kind of falls back to his normal averages. But what they do this week, how much do they need him? And it's one of those things where he's had a lot of touches, but the Saints have needed it. Like, they need his production to win these games. So, curious to see how they handle week 4.
I'm going to give you this question because we know you love Taysom Hill. Is it time for teams to start game planning for Taysom Hill?
Well, if you're the Saints, hope not. They could let him stay a surprise.
But if you're a defensive coordinator for the Giants,
I would. I sure would. I mean, he's run a lot of read option plays. He's kind of shows up everywhere. He lined up as the tight end, went in motion, got a jet sweep. I sure would game plan for a guy like that. You know, he's, as I said before, he's such an outlier as a player. Still, I mean, I would, if I were the defensive coordinator, I'd have to put him in my game plan.
I don't know how you would game plan for him. I mean, he had 5 offensive snaps against the Falcons, and really only 2 of them were similar plays where he was lined up, you know, as a quarterback doing the read option. And, you know, it's so crazy that we're even talking about this when he's only played 7 offensive snaps in his career, 6 this season. But like I said, I don't know how you game plan for a guy when you don't know if he's going to be an H-back as a blocker. You don't know if he's going to come in motion and take a jet sweep. You don't know if he's going to line up at quarterback. And they can do so many different things with him that, I mean, I'm sure every defensive coach on the schedule is aware that Taysom Hill can beat them. But, I mean, how much time do you spend preparing for a guy that even when he comes in, you have no idea what he's going to do?
We'll save the best for last. The other quarterback, Drew Brees, obviously broke a record last week with completions, breaking Brett Favre's record, has a chance to pass Peyton Manning this weekend. Does Drew Brees get the credit he deserves?
That's a tough question. I mean, when he's going to the Hall of Fame, and we all know it, and everyone talks about him with the records, I mean, I think you have to say yes, but I think in the grand scheme of things, no. I think, you know, it would be a valid question to ask whether he's been the best quarterback of all time. And I'm not going to say that he is, but I think when you look at the weapons until now, until he's had Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, I think you look at the receivers that he's worked with for most of his career. You know, even Jimmy Graham was a 3rd-round pick. I mean, not the highest pedigree guy when he got here. So I think Drew Brees has made a lot of players have success in their careers, and he has elevated the play of so many people that, you know, a guy like Peyton Manning that a lot of people say is the GOAT, you know, he had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Marshall Faulk, Joseph Adai, and Brees hasn't really had that much talent throughout his career.
Look, I think if you poll a lot of national people, put their Mount Rushmore quarterbacks up, Brees would not be on there. But if you look at the stats, it's there. And a lot of people say, well, it's the passing era. So be it. That's still longevity, consistency, productivity, all those great words. I think, no, he does not get the credit he deserves. He'll get it here, obviously. Sometimes maybe taken for granted a little bit down here. But still, I don't think it's the credit he deserves.
Well, by the way, he's completing 80% of his passes. No one's ever done that.
That's pretty good.
Over the course of a season, he thinks he can sustain it. We shall see. Josh Katzenstein from NOLA.com, the Times Pick of You. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks a lot.
All right, coming up, when Game Plan continues, we'll help you set your fantasy football lineup.
Game Plan is sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers. You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
When the Giants struggle in the red zone, they don't win. The numbers don't lie because in their 2 losses, they've scored just 1 touchdown in 4 trips inside the red zone. And they've had a negative turnover differential. Last week, they won their first game, and the reason why, their success in the red zone scoring on 3 of 4 trips there. And they took the ball away as opposed to giving it away. which for the Saints simply means take care of the ball, keep them out of the end zone and the red zone, which would have a direct effect on fantasy football teams.
And when we need fantasy football advice, who do we turn to?
Chris Hagan.
We sure do, who examines the historic start for Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas in this week's Extra Point.
As we dive into this week's Extra Point, we examined at least one more week upcoming for Alvin Kamara to run up some extra fantasy points. Clearly, with the state of the Saints defense bleeding yards and points, the black and gold offense is forced into high gear every week, which means more Kamara than ever. He went into Sunday's game in Atlanta, averaging just more than 13 touches per game over the course of his young career. But in that shootout with the Falcons, Kamara recorded a career-high 31 touches, including 15 receptions. For comparison, his previous high was 19. Also consider that it's the second week in a row that our running backs had at least 14 catches against the Falcons' defense without Deion Jones at linebacker, so Bengals halfback Giovanni Bernard is a must-start against the Dirty Birds this week in all fantasy football formats. But back to Kamara. The Saints' lack of running between the tackles has led to more use of their ultra-efficient short passing game. Drew Brees has been able to check down to number 41 and be very productive. And once again against New York, the last week before Mark Ingram returns, Kamara's usage should be very high.
And Alvin Kamara is in for the touchdown.
Still don't believe me on how good Kamara's been for fantasy football owners? Consider this. The top 3 receivers off the board in fantasy drafts this year, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins, all fall behind him in receptions. Of those 3, only Antonio Brown has more targets. But what makes Kamara, and in this case Michael Thomas, most impressive is their catch rate. Thomas is on another planet, hauling in 38 of 40 targets for 95%. And AK is in the top 6 as well among players with at least 20 targets, hauling in 79% of passes thrown his way. Then, factor in that average pass-catching running backs from the Jaguars, Cowboys, and Texans caught nearly 75% of their targets the first 3 weeks, and as I've been preaching with this assault of numbers, it spells at least one more huge day for Kamara. Reporting for Game Plan, I'm Chris Hagan.
Our coverage certainly doesn't stop here. Lots more football on Fox 8 this week. Tomorrow night, Rams and Vikings to start Fox's Thursday night package. Friday, we switch to high school football with Fox 8 Football Friday at 10:35. Sunday morning, wake up with us on Fox 8 Live Tailgate at 10 a.m., getting you ready for the late kickoff against the Giants. Our reports begin on Fox 8 News at 9, leading up to the final play at 10:30.
And of course, you can always get in touch with us using the Final Word feature on the Final Play app. That'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for watching Game Plan. And thanks to everyone here at Fox 8 for their contributions. Our next newscast is at 4:30 in the morning. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.